All signs point to this, as one major question mark for the Pittsburgh Penguins has been goaltending, and with some help on the way, we're going to break down what Kyle Dubas is planning to do with this team's goaltending moving forward. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Penguins Digest, but before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with your Pittsburgh Penguins, it's free. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, as I mentioned off the top, one big question mark for this team for a while has been goaltending, and there is some help on the way, and we're going to get to that via the AHL. We'll get to that later in the video, like I just mentioned, but the goaltending. Tristan Jarry hasn't been good enough, and this is something that maybe the Penguins have to address. We're going to look at some free agents as well and somebody they can pick up, but what do they do with Tristan Jarry? And there's a couple reports that have come out over the last couple of days, this one from the NHL themselves, when the Pittsburgh Penguins were mathematically eliminated from this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. The Penguins missed the playoffs. Goaltending and lack of depth were the reasons. And they go further in to say what went wrong. Well, the goaltending went wrong, and that was, I think, the worst part of this Pittsburgh Penguins season. And Tristan Jarry, expected to be the primary starter, was 8-4 with a 3.31 goals against average and an 884 save percentage. Keep in mind, league average is hovering around 901 at this point, so not even close to league average at this point in time. Save percentage through January 14th, when he began a second stint with, obviously, we know, the baby Pens. He was sent down to the AHL, and he regained some confidence. Obviously, we saw that. He put together a decent record after that. Again, decent, not good enough. And, he had a 3.26 goals against average and an 888. So he improved slightly, like not even that much, and it wasn't good enough. And again, Alex Nedeljkovic, meant to be the backup, and Joel Blomqvist, who played not majority, but a lot of this season, 23-year-old prospect, now in the AHL, haven't fared better. They both weren't good. Although I will maintain that personally, I think Alex Nedeljkovic is a good backup goaltender, and one that I think a lot of teams would maybe not necessarily want on their team, but a guy that could be a serviceable goaltender around the league as a backup. But, not when you're thrust into that spot there with, obviously, Tristan Jarry being sent down to the AHL at one point this season. So Nedeljkovic this season was a 15-5, with a 316 goals against average and an 894. So a little bit better, and Blomqvist was around the same. I mean, the Penguins were getting pretty flatline goaltending all the way around. Like, all three goaltenders had very similar stats all season, and not one guy took control of the net, took over the reins of the net, which I think is a problem as well. But they do have some help on the way, hopefully. But what do they do with the current makeup of the goaltending situation? Do you look at moving the goaltenders? One thing that didn't help was the fact that this team had almost no depth this season, right? Like, when you look at the goal scorers and the guys putting up the points, you had Sidney Crosby, Rickard Rakell playing on the same line at times, and of course Brian Rust up there with Sidney Crosby, making up the first line for the most of the season, and scored 92 of Pittsburgh's 227 goals this season. Rakell leads the way with 34, and Crosby had 30, Rust had 28. So, I mean, your top line is doing the majority of the scoring, doing all the heavy lifting, so you're not going to find success in that way. And then when your goaltender's not winning you games either, you're not going to win very many hockey games that way. So, Malkin's getting older. He didn't have the greatest season either. He was dealing with injuries. We know that. But, his lowest in a season, totals at least, with at least 44 games played, did not have a good season. So the lack of depth, also a concern here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And from this as well, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, I mean, Kyle Dubas and the Penguins have a complicated goalie situation to sort out this summer. And when you go into it, Jarry wasn't good this year. This is something that they have to figure out. He let in the very first shot of the season. We all remember that. He was letting in goals early and often to start this year. It was absolutely brutal. And twice he was sent to the American Hockey League this year. And after he strung together a few quality outings, he was recalled, but just not great. He was also pulled from 2 games just last week, basically bringing him back to square one. And it's hasn't been good for Tristan Jarry. And again, the organization is pumped about Sergei Murashov, right? I mean, he's down there in the AHL doing his thing. And I say doing his thing. He's a 21-year-old rookie who has 11 straight wins. for the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. And, that was a new franchise mark that he just set. He hasn't lost. He has not lost. So he's been playing fantastic, and he's made just 12 starts at the AHL level in his career, and it is not impossible that he pushes for an NHL job in the fall. So you can't bank on it. He's a 21-year-old prospect. He should actually stay in the AHL to continue to develop. I wouldn't push this upon this guy this early, especially to carry the weight of this entire team, it seems like, on his shoulders as a goaltender. But at the same time, this is a guy who you can look forward to, right? This is a bright spot in terms of goaltending for this team, and I think that he will be able to make a difference soon. But what do you do in the meantime? You have to maybe look at trading Tristan Jarry at this point in time. I mean, if you look at his contract, he's 29 years old. He makes $5.3 million for the next 3 seasons. I mean, an absolute disaster of a contract for the Pittsburgh Penguins right now, because you want to, maybe move this guy, but at the same time, it's going to be hard. Like, what team is going to want to take on that contract and with him playing the way that he is, right? It's going to be hard to find a suitor for him. So who's available this offseason? You have guys like Jake Allen. I think that could be an interesting option. He's 34, but he can be a stopgap goaltender like we saw in Montreal. I wonder if he would be interested in that role. Obviously, the New Jersey Devils will probably want to retain his services going forward, but that could be an interesting option. I suspect that Marc-Andre Fleury will retire after this season. You have Anton Forsberg, who could be a very good option as well. Georgiev didn't have a great start to the season, has settled in a little bit better, but still, I mean, not a great option. Ville Husso's up there, but everyone else on this list, Johansson doesn't really do it for me. You have Alex Lyon, who's been an okay guy, kind of bouncing around the league. Spencer Martin, fringe, between the NHL and the AHL at this point. He has played NHL games and has looked good when he has played in the NHL. James Reimer, I don't think is an option here. David Rittich, like the rest of the list, I wouldn't touch Ilya Samsonov either. Vanacek, all these guys, these are unrestricted free agents this offseason. If you look at restricted free agents, and again, this summer has been labeled to a degree the summer of offer sheets, there's some pretty good names here. Tarasov, another guy that Columbus has come out and said that we don't really believe in our goaltending. Maybe it's time for a shakeup. Maybe it's time for an offer sheet from the Pittsburgh Penguins, right? Joel Hofer has looked fantastic with the St. Louis Blues this year. Lucas Dahlstall, I mean, one of the best goaltenders for my money in the entire NHL, playing the way that he is with the stats that he has on the Anaheim Ducks. It's been absolutely unbelievable. So maybe this is the year of an offer sheet. The Penguins have a ton of cap space that they can use that Kyle Dubas has gotten for them. But again, there is help on the way. But I do wonder, again, all these stats Mershov doing down there in the AHL has been fantastic, an absolute brick wall. There is help on the way, we know that, but I don't think it's next season. Might not even be the season consistently, at least after that one, right? So you're going to need to find a stopgap goaltender, or Tristan Jarry has to play better, but we haven't necessarily seen that. So these are the options in terms of UFAs. These are the options in terms of RFAs this offseason. So I wonder if you offer sheet somebody, there's some better options here, definitely, but obviously those teams are going to want to retain their services. But Jake Allen wouldn't be a bad option. It depends how much he wants, right, in terms of a contract. So the rest of the list looks kind of tough, and I'm not sure that's the way you obviously you fill out your goaltending there, and you would have to move Tristan Jarry as a result as well. And Mershov, like I mentioned, has been unbelievable at the AHL level. Again, just on March 26th, stopping 35 of 38 shots, and his save percentage this season has been unbelievable. 11-0 on the season. He's continuing to put up amazing numbers in the AHL. He had this great quote about Rutger McGroarty as well, and just saying that it's a good challenge for him to play against McGroarty. Now he's in the NHL as well, and I think Mershov is not far behind him. But obviously goaltenders take a little bit longer to develop, so he will be in the NHL at some point, but I don't think it's anytime soon. So what do you do with the goaltending? Let me know in the comments what you think the Penguins should do with the goaltending moving forward. Do you just see what Tristan Jarry has again next season? It's going to be tough. I wonder if you look at trying to rid yourselves of that contract, signing a stopgap goaltender who can really come in, provide quality minutes. Again, the team needs some more depth in the offseason as well. They have a lot of salary cap space they can use, but it's going to be interesting to see what Kyle Dubas and company do. But let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything Pittsburgh Penguins.